who would have said when we watched Donald Trump descend on the escalator, at Trump Tower to announce his campaign, that we would be on the Diane Rehm show in April saying he is the likely nominee. There will be a Trump-Clinton race in November. I don't think I saw this coming.
Oh, you didn't predict it? I think no, it was so extraordinary. And there was, first of all, a lot of skepticism even that he would run because he had played with it so many times before. And there was also this sense that the Republicans had put up what on paper was their strongest field in probably a generation, a bunch of senators and governors and ex-governors and, young, appealing, diverse candidates. So there was the sense, and it's always been the way the Republican primaries worked before, is that ultimately, they sort of have their dalliances with these outsiders, but they always come back to the establishment choice. Well, this year that didn't work.
We didn't do a good job in seeing this coming months ago, but neither did the Republican establishment. And I wonder, Naftali, whether they are now alarmed by where things are accepting that Trump is going to be the face of their party?
Well, I think both, but I think this isn't a question of a few months ago. I think it's a question of 3 weeks ago. After Wisconsin, which Ted Cruz won decisively, there was any number of columns that talked about Trump's Waterloo was one, or they're talking about the turning point in the campaign. Finally, the chickens are going to come home to roost. Things are going to go back to normal. And Trump proceeded to then demolish everybody in New York and the Northeast. So I think what you're seeing is a little bit of, there's on the one hand some acceptance. I think one of the things we're seeing is some looking toward a post-Trump era for the GOP. In other words, I think people are already starting to accept in the Republican Party, he's going to be their nominee. It probably won't go well. So how can we pick up the pieces afterwards? And I think Paul Ryan and others are trying to talk in ways that actually envisions what happens to the party, holding it together as a brand and as a viable entity after the consequences of a Trump run.
But, some Republicans are trying to, he's picking up some endorsements. 2 chairmen of House committees endorsed him yesterday, Donald Trump. And yet we see a very tough column in this morning's New York Times from David Brooks, a conservative columnist, calling this a Joe McCarthy moment for the GOP. What do you think, Olivier?
I think David Brooks speaks for a very, very, very small sliver of the Republican Party. I think it's been interesting to watch people like John Boehner in that remarkable interview he gave a couple of days ago. John Boehner saying he'll vote for Trump if he's the nominee. Paul Ryan staying out of it but saying he'll back the nominee. You're seeing a lot more acceptance, I think. The Paul Ryan thing is really interesting. He's been running not so much a presidential campaign of his own, but a shadow campaign in which he is offering Republican voters and Republican candidates a different vision. So he has come out on the economy, on foreign policy, on reaching out to young voters. And it is hard not to see in his efforts a plan to help down-ballot Republicans. There's a lot of concern among the Republican Party establishment about what Donald Trump will do to the Republican Party's candidates for the House, for the Senate, and for governor.
So, Karen, what will Donald Trump do for candidates?